Hey everyone, welcome to the part 2 of our weekly analysis of daily MCQs. So we'll go directly into the questions. Question 13. In context of the National Water Mission, consider the following statements. It is one of the missions launched under the National Action Plan on Climate Change for combating the threats of global warming. The second statement, it ensures equitable distribution of water across the country and within the states through integrated water resources management. Choose the correct code. Option A, 1 only, option B, 2 only, and option C, both the 1 and 2, and option D, none of the above. So the National Action Plan on Climate Change actually has a National Water Mission. So the first statement is definitely correct. The second statement ensures equitable distribution of water across the country and within the states through integrated water management, integrated water resources management. The second statement is also true. The correct answer is option C. So you can see on the screen that explanation statement 1 is correct. It is one of the 8 missions launched under the National Action Plan on Climate Change, NAPCC, for combating the threats of global warming. And the NWM ensures equitable distribution across the countries and within the states through integrated water resources management. Now, what are the 8 missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change? So they are actually the National Solar Mission, the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, National Mission on Sustainable Habitat, National Water Mission, National Mission for Sustaining the Himalayan Ecosystem, National Mission for a Green India, National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, and National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change. So please have an idea of which are these missions, because it is quite possible we must know what is the mandate given to them and what are they supposed to do. Is it clear? We'll go for the next question. 14. In context of foreign exchange reserves, consider the following statements. Foreign currency assets, gold, special drawing rights or SDR, and reserve tranche position are the main components of the forex reserve. And the second part is forex reserves act as an insurance when the rupee tends to be volatile against the dollar. So as you learn about the forex reserves as part of your general preparation, you'll understand that the forex reserves in a country consist of gold, the foreign currency assets, the special drawing rights or the SDR, followed by the reserve tranche position. Now SDR, reserve tranche, they are located with the IMF. Even if one is not aware, please understand, just know these 4 things are present in our for forex reserve. So the first statement is definitely correct. The second statement is forex reserve act as an insurance when the rupee tends to be volatile against the dollar. That is exactly true, because that is the purpose of the forex reserve. They tend to prevent the too much fluctuation of the rupee against the foreign currency, in this case which is dollar. So we'll go for the explanation. The answer is C. Explanation 1 statement is correct. Statement 1 is correct because the foreign currency assets, gold, SDR, and reserve tranche are the main components of the forex system. And the statement 2 is also correct because the forex reserves act as an insurance when the rupee tends to be volatile against the dollar. So we'll go for the next question. Consider the following statements about the International Financial Services Center, or IFSC. India's first IFSC is being developed in Mumbai. Second statement, it caters to customers outside the jurisdiction of the domestic economy. Choose the correct answer using the given codes, which is option A, 1 only, option B, 2 only, option C, both 1 and 2, and option D, none of the above. Again, it's a factual question. The IFSC is actually not being developed in Mumbai, it's developed in Gujarat. The second statement caters to the customers outside the jurisdiction of the domestic economy. Yes, that is true. Since it's meant towards the International Financial Services Center, it is quite possible it will be catering to customers outside the country. So we'll go for the explanation. The answer is answer B. The statement 1 is not correct because it's the Gujarat International Finance Tech City Corporated Limited is being developed as the country's first international financial services center, or IFSC. Statement 2 is also correct because an IFSC caters to customers outside the jurisdiction of the domestic economy. We go for the next question. Question number 16. Consider the following statements about the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ. This principal judicial organ of the United Nations is referred to as World Court. The second statement says India is not a party to ICJ. The third statement says that being a criminal court, it has jurisdiction to try individuals accused of war crimes. Select the correct answer using the given below code. Option A is 1 only, option B is 2 and 3 only, option C is 3 only, option D is 1 and 3 only. Now, taking this into account, the first statement is this principal judicial organ of the United Nations is referred to as a World Court. Yes, the United Nations has 6 major organs, and one among them is the International Court of Justice, and it is also referred to as the World Court. So the first statement is definitely right. Second statement, India is not a party to ICJ. No, India is a party to ICJ because India is also a member of the United Nations and has agreed to it. So taking that into account, we'll know that the first statement is correct, that the second statement is wrong. So if you look at the options, you'll see that there's only one option which has 2 in it. Remove that, you can remove option B. And we know that for sure that the first statement is also correct. So taking that, it's either option A 1 only or option B, which is 1 and 3 only. Keep that in your mind. Look at the third statement. Being a criminal court, it has jurisdiction to try individuals accused of war crimes. No, this is meant for analyzing any legal dispute between nations. It is not for war crimes or trying any individuals. Keeping that in mind, we can say that the largest possibility we see is in option A, which is 1 only. We'll go for the explanation. The answer is A, and the explanation says statement 1 is correct because the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, is sometimes called as the World Court and is one of the 6 principal organs of the UN. It settles disputes between states and gives advisory opinions on international legal issues referred to it by the UN. So its opinions and rulings serves as sources of international law. The statement 2 is not correct because being a member of UN, India is party to ICJ but not a party to the International Criminal Court. And from that we can link it to the third statement because it is the ICJ is not a criminal court, hence it has no jurisdiction to try individuals accused of war crimes or crimes against humanity. We'll go for the next question. 17th question. Consider the following statements about the Toda tribe. Now this ethnic group live in Nilgiri mountains of Tamil Nadu. And second, they are identified as particularly vulnerable tribal group, or PVTG. Which of the above mentioned statements are correct? That is the question asked. And the options given are 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 or 2, or none of the above. So Toda tribe, yes, they do live in the Nilgiri hills of Tamil Nadu. And they are identified as particularly vulnerable tribal group. Yes, they are also identified as such. So this is actually a factual question. One must know about the major tribes of India, where they are present, and why they are referred to as PVTG tribes in case of any specific reasons. So we'll go for the explanation. The answer is C, explanation 1. Statement 1 is correct. Toda people are a Dravidian ethnic group who live in the Nilgiri mountains of Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Statement 2 is also correct because they are identified as a particularly vulnerable tribal group by some specific signs such as primitive traits, distinctive culture, geographical isolation, shyness to contact with the community at large, and backwardness. So these are the traits which identifies a tribal group as a particularly vulnerable tribal group. Keeping that in mind, the statement is also right. We'll go for the next question. In the context of National Tiger Conservation Authority, or the NTCA, consider the following statements. This statutory organization was constituted under the Biological Diversity Act. That is the first statement. In the second statement, it is responsible to conduct a tiger census across India every 4 years, and it is also chaired by the Prime Minister. Correct code, option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 only, option C 3 only, option D all of the above. Now this is a factual question. It talks about a body, and in such questions it is rather better to know about the body in detail to make an assessment of it, rather than making any guesses which is quite possible can result in any wrong mistakes. So in general, in environment questions, they are generally asked factual in nature. You learn about them as part of your normal preparation. We'll go for the explanation. The answer is B, and the statement 1 is not correct because the NTCA is not a statutory body of the ministry. While it is a statutory body of the ministry, it is not constituted under the Biodiversity Act, rather it is constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. And the statement 2 is correct because it is responsible to conduct the tiger census across India every 4 years. And the statement 3 is not correct because it is not the Prime Minister who is the chairman of the NTCA, but rather the Environmental Minister. The next question. In context of Kanchenjunga National Park, consider the following statements. The first statement is, only wet temperate vegetations are found in this region. Second statement, it is the first mixed heritage site of India inscribed in the UNESCO World Heritage List. The third statement is, it is a part of the UNESCO Man and the Biosphere program. Choose the correct code. Option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 and 3 only, option C 1 and 3 only, and option D all of the above. Now Kanchenjunga, you may have heard as Kanchenjunga in sometime in other cases. So it's actually a part of the state of Sikkim in India. Now Sikkim is located very near to the Himalayas, and Kanchenjunga we've already heard of it to be referred to be as a mountain, a tall mountain in the Himalayas. So the first statement is, only wet temperate vegetations are found in this region. The term only alone makes it a bit doubtful. We can eliminate that part. You eliminate that, the answer is you'll get an answer which is known as 2 and 3 or option B. We'll again read through the statements. First Mixed Heritage Site of India, quite possible. It's a part of the UNESCO MAB program, that is also quite possible. We'll look at the explanation. Answer is B, explanation. The statement 1 is not correct because it is the highest biosphere reserve in our country, and the Kanchenjunga National Park KNP, which comprises the core area of the KBR, the Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve, was inscribed as India's first mixed World Heritage Site on July 17, 2016. So 86% of the core lies in the alpine zone, and the remaining portions are located in the Himalayan wet temperate, and also along with that there is a subtropical moist deciduous forest. Statement 2 is correct because it was inscribed to the UNESCO World Heritage Site list as the first mixed heritage site of India. The statement 3 is also correct because it is included in the UNESCO's Man and Biosphere program. We'll go for the next question. The Kalapani region, sometimes seen in news, is a disputed territory between A. India-Bangladesh, B. India-China, option C. India-Pakistan, and D. India and Nepal. So this is a factual question. If you have read through the newspapers consistently, this was there in the news for a few days. So taking that into account, it is actually a conflict. There is a disputed territory which is between India and Nepal, which is known as the Kalapani region. The explanation is Kalapani is a valley that is administered by India as a part of the Pithoragarh district of Uttarakhand. It is situated on the Kailash Manasarovar route, and the Kalapani territory has become the bone of contention between India and Nepal. Go for the next question. Consider the following statements about the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. So it mandates the constitution of panchayats at the district, intermediate and village levels as institutions of self-government. Second statement, it helped to realize the goal mentioned under Article 40 of the Directive Principles of State Policy. And third statement, it mandates establishing an independent election commission in each state for superintendence, direction and control of the elections. So select the correct answer using the code below, and the options given are option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 only, option C 1 and 3, and option D all of the above. So this question talks about the 73rd Constitutional Amendment which has given constitutional status to the panchayats in our country. So this is again a very important part of our polity syllabus, and we will be learning in detail about them. Keeping that in mind, we can say that it mandates the constitution of panchayats at the district, intermediate and village levels as institutions of self-government. Yes. It helps to realize the goal mentioned under Article 40. Yes. Mandates establishing an independent election commission. Yes. All of the statements are correct. So we'll go for the explanation. It's a bit more detailed. The 73rd Constitutional Amendment mandates the constitution of panchayats at the district, intermediate and village levels as devolved institutions of self-government. The statement 2 is correct because Article 40 of the DPSP or the Directive Principles made a mention of panchayats, and Article 246 empowers the state legislature to legislate with respect to any subject relating to the local self-government. The statement 3 is also correct because it mandates for establishing an independent election commission in each state for superintendence, direction and control of the electoral rolls, which is under Article 243K. The next question. Consider the following statements about the Environmental Impact Assessment or EIA. The first statement is, it is a tool used to identify the environmental, social and economic impacts of a project prior to decision making. The second statement is, it is mandated under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. The third statement is, the EIA Amendment Notification of 2006 has centralized this environment project clearance across process to bring transparency. Which of the above mentioned statements are correct? Option A 1 and 2 only, option B 2 and 3 only, option C 1 and 3 only, and option D is all of the above. Keeping this in mind, we'll go through each statements. Environment impact assessment is the main question asked, which is the main keyword. And just by understanding that, we know it is meant to assess the impact upon the environment. So the first statement is a tool used to identify the environmental, social and economic impacts of a project prior to decision making. Yes, it is quite possible. So the first statement is true. The second statement is mandated under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. Yes, the word itself has the word environment in it. So there is quite a matching and a link between them. We can keep that as also true. EIA Amendment Notification of 2006 has centralized this environmental projects clearance process to bring transparency. Centralization would mean actually a bit of a delay because it has to go through the center, then go to the state. So then there is a point of contention whether it is actually the center or is it being decentralized. So keeping that in mind, we'll go for the answer, which is answer A, because our statement 1 is correct and the statement 2 is correct, but the statement 3 is actually not correct. So we'll go for the explanation. UNEP defines environmental impact assessment as a tool used to identify the environment, social and economic impacts of a project prior to decision making. And the statement 2 is also correct because the environment impact assessment in India is statutorily backed by the Environment Protection Act of 1986, which contains various provisions on EIA methodology and process. This third statement is not correct because EIA assessment notification of 2006 has decentralized it actually. It has decentralized the environmental clearance projects by categorizing the developmental projects into two categories, that is the category A, which is the national level appraisal, the category B, which is the state level appraisal. So keep this in mind. We'll go for the next question. Question number 23. Consider the following statements. Statement 1, labor is a state subject under the Constitution of India. And statement number 2, Article 19 of the Indian Constitution gives everyone the right to form unions. So consider the following, choose the correct code. Option A, 1 only. Option B, 2 only. Option C, both 1 and 2. Option D, none of the above. It's a difficult question. It's a factual question. One must have at least a basic idea of the polity syllabus and understand in which list does labor come under. So labor actually comes under the concurrent subject. So it does not come under the state list. Neither does it come under the union list. So answer is actually option B. The statement 1 is not correct because labor is a concurrent subject under the Constitution of India, whereas the statement 2 is correct because Article 19(1)(c) of the Indian Constitution gives everyone the right to form associations or unions, and the Trade Unions Act of 1926, which was amended in 2001 and contains the rules on governance and general rights of trade unions. Go for the next question. In context of special economic zone, consider the following statements. These duty-free enclaves are deemed to be as foreign territory for the purposes of trade operations and duties and tariffs. Second statement, goods and services going into the SEZ area from domestic tariff area shall be treated as exports. So as one learns about the special economic zone, the rules are modified to encourage more exports and more production and more manufacturing and services. So that territory is actually not treated as the domestic territory of India because then the domestic tariff laws will be imposed over there. They are treated as a special economic zone, and therefore whatever produced, whatever that area is actually considered as for purpose of foreign territory for trade operations and duties. And any goods and services going into the SEZ area, which is the special economic zone, which comes from outside it, that is, it comes from the domestic area. If it goes into that, and since it is considered as a foreign territory, it is considered to be as an import, and anything which leaves that area, which goes into that area is considered as export, and anything which leaves that area is considered to be as import. The correct answer is actually explanation C, answer is C, and we'll go for each of the explanation. The statement 1 says, it is a specifically delineated duty-free enclave deemed to be foreign territory. So it is considered to be a foreign territory for economic operations only, or for the purpose of trade operations and duties and tariffs. Second statement is also correct because the goods and services going into the SEZ area from the domestic tariff area shall be treated as exports, because from the normal area it is going into a foreign territory. So when India sends goods from India towards a foreign territory, it is treated as exports, and when something, or in this case when goods and services from the SEZ area comes inside the domestic tariff area, it is treated as imports in the Indian government's context. 25th question. What is Swasth Vayu, sometimes seen in news? Option A, oxygen concentrator. Option B, anti-smog guns. And option C, ventilator. And option D, anti-smog towers. Swasth Vayu, very important current affair. It was recently there in the news. It is a factual question. So since the term Vayu is present, we know it's something related to air, atmosphere, oxygen. And since the term is Swasth Vayu, or something referred to as cleanliness, that is quite possibly it can relate it to clean air or something. And all of these options are matching with that. So it is very hard to make an educated guess in such circumstances. It is a factual question. One must learn about it. So we'll go for the explanation. The answer is C. The ventilator Swasth Vayu is a cost-effective and portable ventilator developed by the National Aerospace Laboratories in Bengaluru in a record 36 days. It has also developed its version of BiPAP, a non-invasive breathing support device for the use of non-critical, non-ICU cases of COVID-19.